Designing Hollywood. And I have with me here a beautiful woman, Antionette Messam, costume designer of many interesting films. She's working on, and she's doing something right now, even though there's a pandemic. But tell me, so I didn't realize that you actually lived in LA. I thought you were staying here while you were prepping or something.
I don't know why that's such a myth. You're the third person this week,
I don't know.
and
why.
I've lived 5 minutes from here for 10 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I started making the move to LA after Orphan, or was it around Orphan? I was here when we had the Orphan premiere. So around that time. So I'd say slow start around 2007, but around 2009 is when I officially moved out here.
When you officially moved out here, was it because you were embarking on films at that time, or were you already involved in filmmaking? Because I know you were in fashion as well.
I've been a costume designer for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think it's officially 30 years this September.
Bless you.
Yeah, so no, I've been designing. I started in series, doing series. My very first series was called Catwalk. It was for MTV. And I did several years of series and a lot of MOW, big cable movies, which
Wow.
is why I got to know LA, because I'd have to come out here and do fittings with, people like Farrah Fawcett when we
Right.
did Jewel, and Angela Bassett when we did Ruby's Bucket of Blood. So
Oh,
there was
wow.
quite a few shows. I worked a lot for Showtime and Paramount in the 90s, and I'd come to Melrose, Paramount lot, and that back then they had a costume house on the lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd work out of that costume house, and I'd do my, some prep and my fittings there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a while. I did come here. It wasn't specific to do film. It was to work in film. But I just, at the time, my son was grown. He is grown. He's a beautiful grown man. But I wanted to not just what was coming to Toronto, but also start thinking about globally the scripts and the projects I could work on. And, people like Jama, who I did Orphan with, encouraged me to come out. Rudy Langlis, who I did,
Well,
Rudy Langlis did Stan Tookie Williams' story with Jamie Foxx. I did that.
oh, wow.
And he encouraged me to, come to LA. Coming to LA, of course, just meant another place to leave from.
Of course, whatever.
But
I know.
basing out of LA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
During the time when a lot was going on, we were always having a bag packed, ready.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much. I hardly spent time in my homes. I was on the road with John Hughes films and the Diehards.
Yeah.
Well, the one I did here,
Mm-hmm.
but always traveling.
Have suitcase will travel.
I know.
Right?
I know. And it was really like Chicago, especially. I was there so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But, the thing is, to work in LA, you reminded me what it was like at Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
When I did Pretty in Pink out of Paramount, and I did all the clothing there, and we used the dressing rooms, and their facility was pretty good, at the time.
Yeah.
And you just made me, I just got a pen. Oh my
Oh,
God, those days
nostalgia.
are over.
Well, it was the first time growing up in film in Toronto. We're so location based. Back then we didn't have the studios that we do now. And arriving in LA and going to the Paramount lot was like, oh my God, I'm in the film business. It was like the arches and going through and just walking the grounds. And I was like a tourist, I swear to God. I was like a little kid in a candy store. And I was physically there working and even had an office, I think, at one point for something small. But it was so overwhelmingly like, I'm here, I'm doing this.
Did
you
you
know.
actually use their workrooms and everything, or were you just based?
I was just based because we did the majority of the prep in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have some really good rental, costume rental houses, and our craftsmen, our tailors, our cutters are amazing. So,
Well, I did use people up in Toronto. I did quite a few films in Toronto, and one at Bridge Studio in Vancouver.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
Woo.
worked there too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was in a very nice studio.
Mhm.
Actually, I did. What's his name? He's an athlete. I can't even remember. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. But I loved working up in Toronto. And then they started getting strict about other things. I produced something up there as well. And they didn't like it because I didn't have a residency. And they gave they gave me a lot of problems, which made it hard for me to get a nice credit on the film that I was working on.
Well, you're one of not very many because on average, I'd say it's less now, but especially when I started in the early 90s, I'd say more than 50% of the films were designed by Americans.
Right.
Yeah. But now they feel we've got a vast, diverse, experienced, crew
No,
base.
it exploded. The unions, and you sent me that piece, which was great because if that's what you're doing, you're
Yeah.
accomplishing something incredible, something I wish I could do here, but it doesn't fly like that here for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I encourage a lot, and we're starting to do it with some committees here, is training. Training is really important, especially with so many cable and so much diverse and on location, and just being able to be digital, not just hands on, but you have to be able to work with in several different locations at once and be able to communicate well. So
Yeah.
I mean, the train and brace base is expanding, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Not only do you need to know how to sew, you need to know how to use a computer too. you know.
Yeah, I'd be fired in 5 seconds, that's for sure. But no, it's been incredible because it's becoming very techno too,
Yeah.
which I don't know how thrilled I am about that, because it's like so much that they can create on the computer and then recreate it, and it's pretty incredible. It's awesome. It blows my mind because I've done everything so, not computerized, everything hands on, and making costumes and creating my own warehouse with a film called Mystery Men, which was a goofy, terrific, wonderful film to work on. But when two actors don't like each other, makes things a little difficult.
Well, it's interesting you say that because even with the film that I'm attached to right now, one of the questions we're asking is this CGI or is this not CGI? Which then again affects, our budget and how much we have to build
Exactly.
and make, especially if it's multiples. If it's CGI, it's less multiples, which then for me means my money can go somewhere else.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. So
And it's also creating where are you going to put together?
yeah.
Where will you house your, you know, your wardrobe? And it's pretty incredible. I'll tell you what's happening because we're caught up. I feel like a dinosaur sometimes. I feel like, get with it, will you please? Because everything I've ever done, I mean, my hands are in it.
Yes. I don't
And-
think that's changing. I don't think that can change. I mean, as artists, we need to create. I think what I'm seeing is that now we have to communicate a little differently, and we have to, the questions I now ask. Some of the questions I now ask my cinematographer, my DP, is a little different than what I used to ask 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
And those are the things that I'm having to learn and keep up with, because the type of lens or filters or what he's
Exactly.
thinking of doing affects my color palette and what I'm going to be doing. So that's my next conversation after I leave here today.
No, but that's a really very
Yeah.
valid
Yeah.
conversation that you need to go forward, and maybe they're not prepared to answer. I don't know
Yeah.
how, you're going back to work in this sense. I think it's great, but
It's scary. It
I'm
is.
sure.
Yeah, it's really scary. We had our first COVID safety meeting with the studio last week. My keys and I, and today we had a really big one before I came to this
Oh.
meeting with the art department and the costume and the studio. And then there will be another one.
And how were you seated? It will be
Well,
a big
it's all
meeting.
it's Zoom. Well,
Okay, you
well,
Zoom.
they're not using Zoom. They're using Google, which is another platform similar to Zoom. And like within Zoom, you see everyone in the little box, and you can do the chat and
Yeah.
say you want to talk. But it's basically someone leading the meeting and answering our questions. So out of the meetings that they had with the heads of department last week, those questions went out to our team so that my sewer can ask, well, I'm used to putting pins in my mouth when I'm
Yeah.
with an actor or pinning. You can't do that anymore, obviously. Like just the little things that you take for granted of doing your job, those are all gone.
All gone. Interesting.
All
Very
gone.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And it's amazing that you're doing, is it coming together nicely, or do you feel insecure about doing things this way?
Well, the challenge is just working out. Every show is different. So even though I'm now working for Netflix, and when we went down, we were going to camera the next day, the next business day. They have a few shows internationally that are shooting right now, starting to
Right.
prep and shoot right now. I think Australia and a couple here. But they're very different from my movie. I'm doing a Western.
I love
know?
that idea. I
Yeah.
love that so
A very
much.
stylized Western. Let me just put that out publicly now.
Yes, what period?
Because
know
I
it
will
is.
get the comments.
Yes, you will.
It is, the base is Victorian,
Mm.
and it's that, right in between the big skirts and the legamut. And so I call it the very streamlined period, which
Nice.
is 1870 to 1890.
Nice.
And then we take it to another place.
And then where do you go from
we
there?
kind of, get, it's almost like we've created this world within Victorian time that may have existed and may not have existed, and that's all I'm going to say.
Love that. No, it's it's and it's a
Yeah.
Western basically.
Yes.
It's supposedly taking place where?
Southwest Texas, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Oklahoma, yeah, somewhere down-
vicinity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's very interesting. I want to keep track of you with this. I want to see where you're going with this. So when you
well,
have
we
your
go to camera in September, so it'll be happening really soon.
oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have August. And we're going into August.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of time.
No, I
Oh my
don't.
God. And if the studios aren't open and for the clothing, and
Well, the thing is, the studios, the rental houses are all open now. They officially opened, I think the majority of them opened last week. We have, when I said we were going to camera the next day, I've got 4 rooms filled with costumes
Right.
in New Mexico. We've got 2 trucks full of clothes
Wow.
that were ready to roll out. So we stopped just before, we were supposed to start camera. The thing that's different is they've shifted the schedule. We started very heavy with BG, and those have changed.
yeah,
We're going to start out, we're going to ease into it. And
It's good.
it is good because I think, like I said, it's an education for everyone.
I
Everyone's
think it's
committed to
amazing
being
what
safe.
you're telling me that this is actually, yeah. You know, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to follow you with this and see what's going to be because you're the only person I know at this time that's actually
Yeah.
embarking and has started a show that's
Yeah.
held in limbo for a little bit and now you're back. So I'm going to follow this because I'm
Yeah.
just curious to see where is our industry going? Oh, it's a scary thing.
It is. If somebody said if they were Mars people on Mars looking down, they'd be wondering what's going
Yeah.
on, because I mean it goes from the level of full mask and shield and gloves and gown
Mm-hmm.
to several zones down where you're just in a mask. So depending on how close you are
Yeah.
to talent and the thick of things is how covered and protected
Yeah.
you are. So
Which is difficult to do fittings, right? Or you
well,
do hair
yeah,
and makeup and make
exactly.
sure.
And those are the conversations we're having.
Yeah.
You know, do the actors put their clothes back on hangers and put them in bags?
Now, I want, oh boy, put them on. Take care, kids. Go on.
You know,
Yeah,
they may
yeah.
have some people may have to learn a few new tricks. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like how to hang up their clothes themselves.
Oh boy, that's going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
Now, I watched A Common Thread, which I thought was
Oh my goodness!
brilliant.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I'm very honored. Um that was a labor of love.
Yes.
A lot
That's
of
what
work.
you said you were working on.
Yes, so it was quite a feat, and I'm so blessed to not only have the designers that I had who worked with me, Jennifer Bryan and
Yeah.
Colleen Morris.
They're amazing.
Yes, but behind the scenes, our editor Nicholas Gibb, thank you, Nicholas. Our He made me cry when he said he wanted to help us
Oh my
do
God.
this, and Thomas Golubek, and he helped us with music and licensing.
Lovely.
And you know, just getting the clearances was like giving birth. I'm not gonna lie.
So the common thread is basically the three designers
Mm-hmm.
that you're all from Jamaica originally
Mm-hmm.
and made your way to Canada, to California, wherever.
To the UK.
Yeah.
Well, Colleen was born in the UK, but then her family, her parents are Jamaican, they moved back to Jamaica when she was a child. So she grew up there, and then she came back to came back to England, and then she's worked in the UK and New York. So and she's designed. I think she designed her film in New Orleans.
Oh.
So yeah, but yes, it was born out of a little girl asking me can she do what I do.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was, you know, when comments get buried in Instagram, and I've been trying to find her, but it was about before the end of last year. I guess Superfly must have aired somewhere down there, and she asked how does she be a stylist like you know.
Look at that.
She said, "I want to be a stylist like you and do Superfly." And
I love
said,
this ad. I don't know. They
yeah,
put
isn't that
together
gorgeous?
bits and pieces.
Yeah, and I said it was I was a costume designer, and explained the difference, and that I was Jamaican, so she could be a designer too.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this is how
Yeah.
you.
Well, I didn't think to do it at that time, but then I met Colleen on Instagram. I fell in love with some of her fashion. Her gowns are gorgeous. And then I connected with her, and I said, you know, when she told me grew up in Jamaica, I said, we should tell her story because so many people there don't know that this is possible. That this industry, that there are people from the islands. You know, I know more people in Canada who are from the islands in the industry, and New York. But I mean, I met Jennifer Bryan in Jamaica when I did my fashion show, and she was a guest. And I came out to LA and visited her, and she was doing Vegas at the time. So
You have what about your fashion line? How did you fill that in when you were doing the
because
films?
I'm Jamaican and I
And-
need to do 10 jobs.
Oh, God. I could believe it. Okay.
You know what? It was just at a time when I was thinking, is this what I really want to do? You know, I come from a family, my mother's family, my grandfather was a tailor. He made suits for men and beautiful suits. And my mother, she called herself a seamstress. I said, how could you be a seamstress when you're literally designing clothing for people? You know, and
Modest.
modest.
Very
She's very
modest, yes.
modest. And it was not something, it was something I actually feel I rebelled against because it was assumed. I remember being a kid and having arguments with my grandfather and him calling me, a Jamaican term is feisty because I talked back.
Oh.
But I didn't want to sew. The machine, his machines, these big, big Singer machines, they just seemed overwhelming and scary. And big and black, and he's sitting behind, and he's wanting me to come and sit on his lap and let me show you how to use the machine. I'm like, no, I wanted to run and play outside.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and it took my being in my late 30s, to want to design a clothing line.
So you were already a costume
Already
designer?
a costume designer.
And then you
Took a little break. I think I took a year.
good for you.
It was after a series that I left feeling very unhappy. It was a series.
Happens all the time. in
You
this
know, and I'm
industry,
just
yeah.
like, oh my God, didn't see my family. It was tough. It was a tough series. And I had started to make things for myself, and other, producers was like, I like what you're wearing. And then I'd have someone make something for them. So I came up with something that I always felt was a hole, which was going to Jamaica and going for long weekend or 4 days and deciding to stay 2 weeks and not feeling like there was the right stuff that I wanted to buy to stay longer. So I made a capsule collection of just, the right wrap dress, the right pull-on.
And you did this out of Jamaica?
No, I did it in Toronto.
In Toronto?
But I sold it in Jamaica.
In Jamaica. Why just Jamaica?
Well, it wasn't just Jamaica. What happened to me is I originally was doing it for the islands. And my sales rep was in Florida for the weekend of 9/11. And 9/11 happened, and the trade show shut down.
Yeah.
And I had to figure out what was I going to do because I had all these turquoise and lime green samples. And I redid everything in black and sold it in Toronto. And then I picked up some clients. When I say Toronto, I was lucky to be able to sell in Ontario. And then we got into Montreal and Calgary and Vancouver.
That's a great market.
But then I got into New York, which was good and not good. It was good that it showed me that I could sell outside of Canada, but I didn't enjoy the relationships I built there. So I switched,
Can imagine.
and in a couple of years, then started trying to get back into the islands. And I felt that was where I was most successful. I mean, the super clubs, sandals, all the gift shops picked up the
Really?
line, a few boutiques. Yeah, and the fashion shows were fun.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I would love to have clothing in different places and design the line. I've done a couple of times, years and years and years ago.
But they're hungry. They're hungry for new stuff. You know, you'd be surprised. Even I love your T-shirts. You'd be surprised how well those would do down there.
yeah.
You know, go for it. It's never too late.
Well, we're going to go for a lot of things. My God. Yeah. My daughter would like to know what's your favorite project?
Oh man, that's tough because they're all your babies, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and um, you have different relationships with all of them. I
Colossal is weird.
it was that was a different role for Anne Hathaway. Um,
It was good though.
yeah, you
I
watched
watched it.
it.
It was good.
I
Very
one that's
interesting.
not up there, which I would say is probably my favorite, is Orphan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orphan. Isabel Furman is like my film child. I taught her how to
Oh,
walk in heels. I've worked with her since. She asked me to do this small independent film that she was attached to
sweet.
called One Night. So I worked with her at 12, and then I worked with her when she was 16, 17. And just a relationship with the director that I had and my team
Yeah.
was amazing. You know, Jama and I were like in sync.
Your
The
director.
director, yes.
And
Jama Colette Serra.
the wow, that I've I've had rarely had directors in my relationship. I had producers mostly because they seemed to be the ones in charge. I mean, they hired me, and they would get a lot of young directors to do a lot of the work that they wanted them, and they could more or less. These guys didn't have their own mind, you know. They were told, and they could control them. So I did 17 films with one crazy person, no, and 21 with the other.
Yeah, but you see, you
Yeah.
found your community. That's lovely.
Yeah.
That was your family, and
Yes, but you know, a very disturbed family. But the good thing about it is they respected what I did, and when I said, "You're doing terrorists in this time," we don't have any kind of real looks. You're going to have to let me go to England and Italy because I need to buy them so they are authentic
Yeah.
in the stores that they have there, just like the stores we go here. But I need to do that. And that was the good part of my relationship. They knew I wasn't going for fun. I was going because I wanted to service them properly.
yeah.
And yeah, it worked, you know. But I've had, when I was starting, it was hard. It was very, very difficult because we didn't have access to what you have now. I mean, I'm talking like I'm 100 years old or something. Close, but not yet. But, you know, seriously, to do some of the films that you want to be Americana, that's fine. But when you bring in another aspect of it, it changes everything. It changes everything. And how do you feel with the movement that's going on right now
Which one?
with Black Lives?
And what do you mean? How do I feel?
I mean, how do you feel about it? Did you do your show because of that, the Jamaican?
No, I'm. How should I put this? Let me think about that for a second. It's not that I did it because of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is within my is a part of my life always. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This may
I
be
do.
this may be a movement to you, but it's not. It's been my.
Well, it's more visual
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
average
yeah.
person that we know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as you watch my comment thread, and we all speak to our experiences over
I know.
20, 30 years in this industry and how we're either treated or spoken to or how we get our jobs.
I love that you put that together.
And the thing is, that was an add-on. It wasn't originally part of the story because the story was our journey as Jamaican, Jamaicans and how we ended up in Hollywood. The fact
I love that.
the current climate, we thought it was important to speak to what is our everyday experience.
Right.
We felt it important, and I think I kind of went off on a tangent, but
Oh, I
it was
understand.
I kind of went there, but it's I find it's been more especially with our current politics, it's become much more in your face in terms of people feeling they have the right to speak to me a certain way or
I
treat
hate
me a
that,
certain
yes.
way. So have I dealt with racism always? I'm an immigrant. I came from an island where what I thought was proper English to someone else, I sounded like broken English, which they in turn took as I'm not as smart. And
Yes, I
you know,
understand.
and
Yeah,
so they put you
yeah.
several grades behind where we come out of Jamaica doing the British school system where we have to learn to read and write by the time we're 5, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But the point being is I've always understood and known racism.
Right.
What I'm seeing now is we're seeing it because of cameras. But what happened to George Floyd is not new.
Oh,
Now all
no.
of a sudden you're seeing it a couple of times a week. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because the cameras are now on. You're seeing that knee on the neck.
Awareness. Hello.
Exactly. But for us, we just thought maybe this was a time where we may not have thought to do this 2 years ago, maybe even 6 months ago. But we feel that it's okay to have our voices
Perfect.
be heard. And I have the platform to speak. One, this is my project. And two, I feel comfortable at this stage of my career that I can speak freely and say, you know what? I'm not putting up with that anymore. That's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
I understand that totally because I worked with the most wonderful, she was my supervisor, Winnie Brown, who, it's really crazy. I had to ask permission to bring her to Brian De Palma. I would like to bring Winnie Brown as my supervisor on the Untouchables. And Winnie is black. And he said, no problem, no problem. But that's how freaked out I was for her. She was, a little upset. And I just, forget about it. You're coming, you're my supervisor. I can't do this show without you. You did 4 other shows with me. You're going to leave me now? Are you crazy?
So where were you guys going?
We were going to Chicago.
Ah.
And Winnie and I had a great time. We did. It was really cool. She was the first person who had a computer. She blew me away altogether. I didn't bring a picture of her. She's very well known in the older costumers area, and she had great reputation. And I couldn't do a film without her for a very long time. And she decided to ease out of the business.
Yeah.
I never got over it. I swear. But it was remarkable because I put myself in her shoes. How would I feel if I were her? And I had to ask permission to bring a most talented, beautiful human being on a show with me. So I've dealt with that through that. I was one of the few people. I mean, she was my supervisor, as simple as that. And brilliant girl, just a brilliant girl. But
I wish I'd have met her.
I wish you did.
We're starting to connect with this movement, if you want to call it that. The community in this town in Los Angeles are coming together to support each other and help each other. And when I say the community,
so.
the black costume designers,
Yes.
the black crew members,
Yes.
costumers, set costumers, craftspeople, and if anything, we're now getting to know each other because of the current climate, which is, if anything has come out of positive that has come out of this, is that I now know of 50 more costumers community than I did before. And, there isn't a costume designer, black or white, who's not going to sit in front of you and say that we want the best person for the job. But if I can give an opportunity to someone who may not have, even if it's a recommendation or a referral or shadow or work on my team, I'm going to try because the person behind me may not try. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
I know exactly what you mean.
So that's part of the movement.
Right. Well, I work with the Academy. I did. Oh, and Make a Film Foundation. My friend, who is also a beautiful Black woman, I am going to bring her hopefully on the show very soon. She's constantly busy. She created Make a Film Foundation for very ill children.
Oh, wow.
So we did a film for a young boy who came from Boston, and he had, what is it? They say grade 4 pancreatic cancer. Young boy. He wrote the film. He did the music.
Oh.
He starred in it. His father brought him, and we dressed him, and it was all about zombies.
Of course it was.
I know. But 3 enormous directors came. I came and did the costumes, clothing for him. And we had incredible actors come aboard. You name it. It was,
Wow.
and Johnny Depp was starring in it. And we had him bitten, so he was filled with blood. It was great. This young boy had such a trip. It was.
I've just become a member. Well, not just. Last year I became a member of the Academy, so I have to follow that more. That sounds wonderful.
No, who you want to follow more is Bettina. She is the head of all these situations. What is it called? Educational initiative.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I'll put you in touch with her. She'll love you. You'll love her. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
yeah.
also Tamika. Oh, my God. Tamika is so special. These
Help
people
me build my community.
It is your no, it is your
Yeah.
community. I'm telling you, these people are extraordinary, and they're very close friends of mine. And I would do anything for either one of them because they put themselves out in such a way. I don't know anyone else that does what they do. And Bettina for the Academy, it's amazing. We did underprivileged kids, and I took them and we did photo sessions. I dressed them. I brought all my own clothes, and my costumer came with me, and we went to the Academy, and we got a photographer from them to take pictures of the girls in all their different outfits. And the 2 girls, they didn't even want to look at each other in the beginning. They come from that school. It's called the Spark program. And they wound up like this.
Oh,
They
fantastic.
it was, I wish I had the pictures to show you. But things like that lift me up so much, and I'm not just saying, hey, just because I'm a white person, I am not privileged. My heart hurts when things happen to people. I didn't grow up in the easiest manner. And as a lot of problems in families and religion, and it doesn't matter where you are, who you connect with. It's a difficult thing.
Well, thank you, because I appreciate you taking the time to watch our common thread.
Oh, yeah.
It's something I think helped the team that I did it with, helped get us through this pandemic and through this movement, these crazy times. There are times you didn't even want to turn on the television. So focusing on this project and getting it off the ground, and just, like I said,
Good for
I
you.
think the clearances was probably the hardest hurdle, because we're doing something a little different.
But we would never know what these women look like.
Yeah.
And putting it out there, I love that. It makes me, it thrills me because I love working in, trying to make things better all the time. I really do. I'm sick that way. I should stop.
Don't say that.
Because you can't. We're fighting such a battle lately in this world, on
Yes.
every level.
It's toxic.
It totally. I mean, financially, health-wise, we're dealing with so much because of this pandemic has opened up everything.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think some people wonder why film people or studios want to get back to work. And the reality is, people are home. People are working from home. They are watching more television. And, you know, I strive off being creative. It fuels me. I love what I do. Is it easy always? No. And I think
Definitely
there's
not,
something
yeah.
that, there's got to be a reason we keep coming back. But I think if we could find a way to be safe and to still produce and make these projects that people have something to watch that inspires them, because I'm seeing stories that are coming out of this that are inspiring
I agree.
and positive.
I totally agree. Very. This is that. If we could just deal with the financial aspect of things, and we don't go down, 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 get back up on our feet, then dealing with all of this makes so much sense that we'd be able to be clear-headed and, find like the medium in life and just, we're all here. We're all on this journey, and this is not an easy journey, We do have different maps, and we need to get closer, get the same map. But, but life goes on. And I hope we don't forget some of the lessons that came out of this. That's all. I mean, that's what I hope, because I always work with, I always work with the Academy, with the Spark program or any of these programs, Make a Film Foundation. I'm right there. It's just to give back, a little bit of something.
Yeah. This, if one young person on the island, my island or any island, or even North America, or as Colin says, don't forget England, UK, is able to take what we've shared on our common thread, and they can move forward with that, then we've done our job, and that's what's important to me, is that it inspires even one person to be a costume designer or a fashion designer.
Yes.
Or even, I think, Colleen speaks to, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could just be within in the business. You may want to sew for me. You may want to.
We got to open up
Yeah.
that this is available to you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, they have to find out about it. If it's like we're waiting for someone else to push someone into the union or to give them some training, but it has to be open. That's why I wanted to do that clothing. I said I'd love to get a space where we have all this clothing that comes from our union people, rather than given to Goodwill. Give us all the clothing that you're going to change or don't want, and we'll add to it as well. And Eddie was going to help us, Eddie Marks, with some clothing as well and was going to have screens set up and library with couches in the middle, and all the clothing. You could just go shop around and buy all of this stuff, and then you could also take a book and look at certain film, film books and TV, and get the idea of how to do this. And I'm always wanting to turn people on to what we do, because it excites me.
Well, I hope, as I shared with you the movie wardrobe sale in Toronto, I hope it comes back. I mean, the city is not anywhere near as bad as it is here.
Yeah.
But they do have to wear mask in shared spaces and businesses. But it's a great. Not only does it support the organization CAFCAD, but it also helps bring the community together. The film, the costumers, some
I
of
think
the.
it's amazing. That it's so together. Your union is so together. Ours is not like that. I'm sorry to say.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Now, you've asked me what is my favorite film. as
That-
I told you when we started, I'm a big fan. What is your favorite film? Is
That-
there such a thing?
Is there such a thing?
I mean, with your library of catalog of films, I mean, I know some of my favorite. What is your favorite? I'm not going to tell you.
I'm
before you tell me.
thinking. I'm thinking. I like a lot of them. You know, I think they're fantastic. All of them. I love them. They're like children. You have
Yeah.
a place in your heart for
Yeah.
each one. Difficult, yes. When I was doing all the testosterone, the Die Hard 1 and 2, Predator 1 and 2. I mean, I'm in the boys' court. I was the first female that they allowed in the club. They tried to get me fired. My first one was 48 hours. And the boys' club, the costumer said, "You don't belong on this film. This is a guy film." I said, "Oh, really? Okay, fine." I told my producers, "I can't work. They don't want me. They won't work for me. You know, you need to get someone that they'll work for." And they said, "Work it out. You could work it out.
That's good.
You talk to them."
Yeah.
So I did. I went and I talked to them. I said, "This is ridiculous. You know, you're being, no, chicks don't do this. Chicks." Okay, the boys' club.
But you showed them, right?
I did. I
Yes.
did. I broke in.
Yeah.
And the looks I would get. I mean, I felt like I just wanted to shrivel up half the time. You know, being on the set was hurt. I felt hurt all the time. They didn't want me. They didn't think I was talented. They didn't this me. They didn't that. You know, it was horrible. But everybody slowly came around. I did what I had to do. You know, I got Eddie Murphy up and running in that suit. No, because it was like I broke in after that. I had respect. Now, what film do I love? Streets of Fire, which you've never seen, I'm sure, is my favorite film. Walter Hill.
I have to look because I'm horrible with names, and then I'll see a picture. And do you have a picture for me?
Do you have a picture of Streets of
I'm
Fire?
looking right now.
Oh, you have
It
the
takes me a second to
yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
The picture might not be. It was a drawing, I think, on the ad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an animation,
Yeah.
but I can find a screenshot from the film.
Oh, good.
Let me just, you gotta give me a
Find
second.
Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe. This was so interesting. Why I love this film. He was a theater actor at the time. His wife had a theater in New York, and he was already, you know, hired on the film. And he came the last minute when we were shooting his part. But such a pro, right? He had to stand by a fire, so I made him patent leather overalls. Yeah, there's Willem. He had to, and his, oh God, he reflected, the car reflected his,
Wow.
overalls. Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah. And he came to the set, like right out of the car that brought him there, jumped into the clothes, went into hair and makeup, and that was it. That's a pro.
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable. This film, it's unfortunate. It just didn't work. It was unfortunate, but it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting. Listening to you talk about this one, I remembered a film I did that is probably up there with favorites for another reason. Is Skinwalkers,
Oh,
which was probably the ultimate for me in. Not only did I have werewolves with all the blood and gore, I had vampires.
Yeah.
Combination.
Okay.
I had a motorcycle on motorcycles.
Oh,
But,
it's fun. No.
Constantine films,
Wow.
but it was the first time and the only time because he passed away not too long after. I worked with Stan Winston Studio.
So did I.
Oh. And that he taught me so much.
Oh my God, I did Predator 1 and 2.
Oh, isn't he
The
wonderful?
Rasta hair.
Yeah.
I had a lot of influence on that.
Yeah. Oh my
Okay?
God.
Yeah.
We were able to come we shot it in Toronto, but we prepped some of it in his studio in the Valley, and not far from Western, I think. And being there, having the cast come there, the cast fit there, do their moles, showing me how to age and dye.
What's this? I love this.
This is Skinwalkers.
Oh, this is
Yeah, it's a
Skinwalker.
cult. It's a like, and I mean that's when I fell in love with aging and dying, like being able to. My agent dyer Madeline set up outside of our truck on location and did it on the day, and you
Wow.
know,
Stan did the monsters.
yeah. But he was so involved in the costumes too, which was great.
You know, you're the only other person I know of that had that kind of contact, aside from myself, with this man.
Oh my God, he'd show me areas that he felt we should do the rips on it, the clothes, so that he can then the muscle where the muscle was, so that the muscle it would pop, because their clothes literally, we have scenes in the movie where their clothes popped open as they expanded.
Oh.
So he showed me, he's like, look at their form and their muscles, and he showed me the after of what the actor was going to
How
look like
yeah.
this, and then said, Mark, like I felt like I went to school. You know, it was incredible.
Well, you feel like you're with a master, you know, and that's all.
And he was so gentle with me, you know, because it was, I mean, I'd done, you know, we'd done aging and dying before, but not to the level where it was important.
That's so much work. I commend you. It's art. It is an art to this.
Yeah, but it was the thing is, of course, when you're making a film, we talk about the boys club. The boys also needed them to look sexy and hot, and you know,
that
Diesel
word
was
hot.
you know, hot. So I'm like, she's riding a motorcycle, and you want her in a bra.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Can I do a sweater, ripped up
She
sweater
had
layered
bumpers
over?
coming out of the bra, just
You
in
know,
case.
but it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But the master, he's a master.
He's a master. We'll miss him.
I thought, wow, we share that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Stan Winston.
may he rest in peace. Yeah. God.
We both just went down memory lane.
Yeah. No, because, you know, Predator, it was another film that, you know, the Boys Club, they didn't particularly like me on any of their films, you know, except maybe Die Hard.
Well, I think if you remember, Jennifer spoke to it that, you know, not only do we have being a woman against us, we also have, you know, so the list. And being a woman is usually first, you know. And you would think this being costumes, that would not be the case, but it very much is.
You're touching bodies. You're touching people in many more ways than just dressing them. I mean, it's a ritual that we perform with actors. That's what movie making is, you know?
Yes.
And the Good Old Boy Club, a lot of that's gone, thank God. But when I came in, it was big time. No chicks, testosterone. Chicks don't do testosterone. That was the big deal. And it was hard, but my producers believed I could handle it. And I believed I could too. I said, this is ridiculous.
You're a pioneer, Marilyn.
Huh?
You're a pioneer.
Oh, pioneer, please.
Well, you know what I mean. It's not ageism as much as you helped break down some doors for
I
us.
had to, yes.
You know, so we thank you for that.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
for helping pave the way. And, you know, I think there's a little responsibility for some of us who are a little longer in the tooth than some people think.
You mean like me?
Well, hey,
No.
me too. You know, there's, you know,
What?
I've, you know, when I say how many years I've been doing this, sometimes people are taken aback, but it is the
Me too.
truth.
Yes.
And we've come through different stages of growth in this industry.
We were just babes. When we got into the
Absolutely.
business. But yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting for us. I mean, I love you because I know you're a fighter and you knew exactly what I was talking about when I said I want to do this clothing thing and I want to create for all people to come in and see. Maybe they want to become a costume designer, maybe they want to become a costumer. How does it work? I wanted to have like a lounge of like Buffalo Trading, you know the store?
Yeah.
And have, which I was going to shoot in my granddaughter and her friend. They were going to let me shoot a little thing of them coming in and trying clothes, and we were going to make a little show. Only the girls were so small they couldn't fit it. Anything, anything. It was such a great idea and it got approval, but then forget it. But I just love creating, and I love the camaraderie that we do it together, and I mean I did Richard Pryor's 2 films, and he God bless him, God may he rest in peace. He's got so ill, but I did the one where he gets burned, and getting high, and I thought I was going to die. He did that part in the bathtub, and I made him this great patchwork silk shirt. So I wanted not to be so one thing. So when he goes on fire, and it helped him, something busy, busier on, because he steps right in. And I never got over it. He reenacted that whole thing, and I don't know if he got over it, but it was interesting to go to his hometown from when he was raised with his grandmother and his mother in a whorehouse. His mother was a prostitute. His grandmother ran it. And his grandfather, it was just, they gave him the keys to the city. I think it was Cincinnati or something like, I can't even remember where we were. But it was just amazing. It was amazing to work with him. It was amazing, his fears. It was amazing when he told me about his family and his children. And he was going to New York to go on the Tonight Show. And I had done Brewster's Millions with him, which was before we did the one about his life. And he said, you got to come with me. You got to come. You're coming to New York, I'm going to be on the show. I mean, what am I going to wear? I said, very simply, I said, I'm coming over, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this because I can't come. I wish I could, but I made a graph. I marked his jackets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I marked, and the pants and the shirts and the shoes. This goes with this.
A goes with
F. And he had a map. So I said, now you could take your assistant. I had a picture of everything next to the number. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work giving him a graph. But
he appreciated you.
He appreciated the fact that I bent over so far because I couldn't be with him. And I knew he trusted me. But I had, was on another project, and it was, very hard for me to leave these particular people. So, but it was okay. It was okay. Thank God. He did it.
Your stories, Marilyn.
He
wow.
did it. Well, you can't tell a story like that today. I don't think it would happen. I don't think actors would behave that way, that they'd be so dependent. Clothing is, everyone feels like they know what they're doing now. It's different. I was in a different time zone,
Yeah.
where...
Yeah. I mean, even thinking back at some of the people I worked with early in my career, and not everyone adapts to change well, and that's something that, we talked about what you used to do then and what we have to do now. And part of it is just adapting and figuring out how to adapt. And people like, I don't know if he'd be able to function now the
No,
way
he
used
did
to.
never be able to
You know.
function. He was so catered to
Mm.
by so many people, you know, and I tried my best to give him more of a comfort zone, you know, but he was a damaged person, you know. When you looked at his body, it was like melted skin. It was, I would like get chills, but I did it. And I did it and I gave him as much energy as I could because he deserved it.
He was still Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who could beat that?
Mhm.
And he was so great with John Candy and the movie I met him on, the
Mhm.
first one.
Mhm.
And it was just so interesting. Just so interesting to see how he was really a frightened person, you know. But he was great. He was great. And after a fitting, the next day or 2 days later, I'd get a package, and he sent me Tiffany candelabras.
Really?
That was one time.
Yeah.
Another time, yeah, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that I said, you don't have to do that.
Well, what you need to do is write a book, if you haven't been told that many times already.
Well,
Because you
It's
probably
been
have
a
great pictures
it's,
too,
I
right?
do, but
Yeah.
it's been quite a life, let me
Well,
tell you.
that's the one thing that I feel I have not done enough of, because when you're in the thick of it, you don't think about it. But when you doing
course.
our common ground, it's like, I can't believe I don't have more pictures. Why didn't I take more pictures? And I can say, oh, I was busy. But when I think about some of the people that I had the honor of working with, like Farrah Fawcett,
Mm.
you know, Cicely Tyson,
Oh,
and
wow.
and I don't have enough. I was never one of those people that wanted to go up and says, "Can we do a picture together?"
Oh, I hate
because
that
because
too. I
because
don't
we're
like that.
working,
Yeah.
we're working together, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But now I regret not asking for more pictures. Just even
I
to have
know.
said, "I've worked with this person," you know. I can show them in a costume in um, a still of on set, but I
have,
didn't do enough behind the scene shots, and not necessarily of me standing beside them taking a picture,
yeah, exactly.
but just physically working
yeah.
on set. You know, I feel like I need to call all the studios now and say, if you have any behind the scenes pictures of me,
Yeah.
please let me have them. You know,
It's a good idea. You should maybe. I
Well,
don't know if they have I think you have to find out who the photographer was on your project.
well, I have done this last project. Our common thread made us have to do that, but the photographers take the picture and they hand them over.
Oh.
So they hand them over. It's like someone takes pictures for Netflix, hands them over. And even though I'm asked while I'm shooting that we want to take behind the picture, behind the scene shots on you, and I'm like, well, tell me the days so that I know to put on some makeup. But then I'm like, well, why can't I see these? It's like they hold on to these pictures, like they're the holy grail. And I'm like, maybe if I ask the actors who are in it for permission to have it. But anyways, that's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not gonna
I
air
think
my
from
dirty
now on,
laundry.
but from now on, you'll
Yeah.
create that, and then you'll fill the void. You know, you'll go back and
Yeah.
say, I could have done this. This one was that. You know,
Yeah.
you're right about writing a book, because I could talk about all those instances, but
Yeah.
and they're visual to me.
Mhm.
Very visual, and I can't believe half the things that I was involved in and had the nerve to even open my mouth about. Unbelievable. But I came from a family of mostly men,
Yeah.
okay, my whole life. So I took the initiative to what I had to do. That's why I hated when they didn't like me in the testosterone film. Anyway, I think we're almost there. We're running out of time.
This has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, you're coming back.
I am.
Yes, you are. After you finish this film,
And I can tell you all about my experiences
I-
working in a new COVID reality.
that's
and-
right.
yeah.
I think it's very important. And I love having you, and I loved
you.
meeting you because I never had the opportunity, to meet you until now.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I hope that Designing Hollywood was exciting today with our wonderful guests. And I love doing this. I really do. And I want to thank Eddie Marks and the Rag Van because he's helping us make this possible to be able to.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Eddie.
Eddie.
Exactly. Exactly. We love him. So, and it's a pleasure.
No, I was honored, as I said. You said, don't
Oh,
say
you're
that, but
so
I was.
funny.
I was honored, and I thank you for
You
having
give me chills, you know.
Really? Oh, my
because
God.
it's so sweet. No.
Well, I grew up in film on your movies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're
Oh, my God.
references
I
for
love
me.
that.
And Pretty in Pink,
Oh.
iconic. Like, people talk about Clueless. For me, it was Pretty in Pink. I'm sorry.
Pretty in Pink was
Pretty in
me, my
Pink,
life.
You know, I loved it. So, and it was a far away from my world
Right.
as you could possibly get. So they were inspirations to
Yeah,
doing.
Thank you. But
real
John
teen-
Hughes wrote those, I just gave a picture to the words
Well, thank you, Mary.
and thank you. So